Welcome back to this special edition. I'm Denise Levine. Thank you for staying with us. Well, in Jerusalem, the High Court has started deliberations on the constitutionality of the coalition deal struck between the Likud and the blue and white parties. 11 judges are hearing 8 separate petitions over the next 2 days. These have been filed in order to put the brakes on the political pact signed last month. The rulings could make or break the unity deal. The petitions have been filed by advocacy groups, concerned citizens and political opponents of the two parties. Now, before the break, we were speaking to our guest in Jerusalem. We now go back to political commentator and legal expert Ran Bar-Yoshafat. Ran, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's pick up. You were mid-thought when we had to go to a break about what you see as the main issue unfolding right now in the courts.
All right, thank you. So law in general is supposed to do 2 things: solve conflicts and show people how they're supposed to behave. It's not supposed to deal with theoretical questions. If you have a theoretical question, you can write a paper about it in the academia. What is happening here is that judges are judging not according to the law. Now, we don't have a constitution in Israel, but we have basic laws. So there is a whole debate if that is somewhat of a constitution or not. Let's put it aside. But we have the basic law of the government that says that a person can serve as prime minister until there is a final verdict. Article 30 says that even if it's between governments, meaning like the situation that we have now, when we have elections over elections over elections, still the person is allowed to serve until there's a final verdict. And according to the basic law of the Knesset, it says that every MK can serve as a prime minister unless he was indicted and again there was a final verdict and he was sent to 3 months in jail. So legally there is no question here, and I'm really surprised that people are not understanding that there's something bigger here than if you're pro or anti-Netanyahu. And I'll try to explain this again one more time. Let's say that there's someone else, not Netanyahu, who's serving as a prime minister, and someone from the opposition does not like him. So they're making up, okay, there is a chance that people are making up something against that individual who's not Netanyahu. You took down the government without an election. Not only in Israel, but in any other Western country, people understood that. So that is why they're saying a person can serve as head of state, prime minister or president, unless there is a final verdict that says that this person is, in fact, a criminal.
So, Ran, to that exact point, how do you see things unfolding in the next 2 days? What is the likely outcome, in your opinion?
Well, it's very interesting because, again, politically, I think that the right-wing bloc would love for the Supreme Court to say that Netanyahu cannot serve as prime minister, because then it means that Israel is going to go for a 4th election. Most likely the right-wing chunk will grow, especially now that blue and white has dismantled completely. And people are going to be very, very upset with the Supreme Court, and that's going to be the main issue for the election. So I think that will be good politically. I think it's going to be horrible when it comes to the legal grounds that Israel stands on. I believe that the Supreme Court understands that. So if I have to put my money, I'll say that the Supreme Court is going to say, because of the situation, even though legally it has nothing to do with the situation, but the Supreme Court will say, because of the situation, we're going to allow Netanyahu to serve as prime minister, but in theory, it is okay in certain cases for the Supreme Court to interfere, meaning, again, the Supreme Court will meddle in other authorities, which is not supposed to, because, you know, in Israel, we didn't have the Federalist Papers, but the famous Federalist Paper that talks about the sword and the wallet. The government has a sword, the Knesset, our parliament, has the wallet, and the Supreme Court shouldn't have any of those. But apparently in Israel, the Supreme Court feels like it has a sword and a wallet.
Well, we're certainly going to be watching to see how things unfold. Ran Bar-Yoshafat, thank you so much. Stay with us in our Jerusalem studios. Right now, we're going to go back to the High Court. Our correspondent, Alec Pollard, joins us now. Alec, what is happening there at the moment?
Well, Benita, the proceedings have begun. Specifically today, as we mentioned, it's more about Benjamin Netanyahu specifically rather than the coalition agreement. That will happen tomorrow. But to get some more insight, we're joined here by Yotam Eyal. He is the legal manager of the Legal Forum for Israel, to give us a little bit of insight on the proceedings that we're seeing today. Yotam, what can you tell me specifically about the involvement of your organization in this process and what we can expect to see today?
So the Legal Forum for Israel is an organization that have more than 400 friends in the forum. Everyone lawyers and everyone more than 400 lawyers that in the forum. And what we are doing is we are an NGO that cares about the transparency and care about